This is a '06 Rocket Classic. Just finished up some modifications on it from the winter and wanted to share that with the community so everybody could kind of see what the end results are. First off, I put the Rivco risers on it, and a couple of things that may or may not be aware of. When you put the risers on, they're great for me because I have a low center of gravity, so I need to bring the bars back to me. They're excellent, very comfortable. The one thing that you're going to give up when you put these risers on is you can no longer tilt the gas tank up. You got to take the handlebars off because that top clamp on the risers has to come off for the tank tab to clear it. So that's kind of a pain. But how often do you have to tilt the tank back? So that's one of the drawbacks to that. But all in all, I'm real happy with the risers. I put the digital guard dog keyless ignition on it. If you can see down in there, there's no key in the ignition. No longer need it. You just come over here, hit the button, hit the fob, bike powers up. And you're good to go. No key involved. The only thing you need a key for now is to lock the handlebars or to release the seat. Which brings me to the next thing. From a company called Scully Customs, I put some air shocks on her. You get the ass end down for me, and makes the ride a little more comfortable from the stock ones that were on it. So the way I did that, the kit that I got from Scully probably was for a Harley Davidson, but you don't need any additional hardware. What you have to do, if you order the kit from them, which I do endorse it, it's a great little kit. It works well. I'll demonstrate it here in a second. But for the top shock mount, you have to press the sleeve out of the rubber bushing in the shock, and then you have to open up the bushing hole about another 1/16 of an inch in order to compress it onto the shock mount on the bike. This is the original bolt from the original shocks, and you just pull it down on there. The bottom ones, they fit with the sleeve in. It's a 1/2 inch. It slides right over the existing shock mount. Now what I did have to do was trim the bushing off the front and the back of the bottom shock mount so that it's as narrow as possible, because these shocks are a little bit wider where they mount than the originals were. So in order to get the most shock onto the shock mount that's off the frame, I just trimmed it up just a little bit. Cut the sleeve, cut the bushing, hacksaw, took about 10 minutes, no big deal. Stock bolt, bolted it right on. Then you have an air compressor and a dump valve. Now the dump valve is under the seat. All the plumbing's under there. And I put the compressor in the saddlebag, right in the back there. Didn't lose a lot of space, probably enough space to put a poncho in there is all it took up. And then I ran the wires along the inside of the bag. You know, obviously at some point in the future you're gonna have to take the bags off, maintenance. So I put a quick disconnect on the power lead that can pull through down here in the corner. And this air line, you can disconnect it at the compressor or at the dump valve up under the seat and pull the air line through and take the bag off. So that should work out pretty well. I'm real happy with that. You just come over here. I put the switch. It's about the best place I could find to put it. There's this plastic cover right behind the motor. That lets the air out. She sits down. You air it up. It's got probably about four 4.5 inches of travel. That's not all the way, but that's high enough. And then she sits right down, which is pretty cool. I'm real happy with it. So did that, got her cleaned up, ready for the road. Safe riding. One other thing that I forgot to mention, the air lines for the air shocks. You can tell the air shocks, let me go around the other side. The air shocks are angled in towards the motorcycle, which leads the air lines inward. Now what that does, is because this kit's not really for this bike, is the air lines right here, if you run it behind the side cover, then you're going to end up with a chafing point there. That's kind of dark. You're going to end up with a chafing point. So what I did is I drilled a hole in the tin, put a grommet in there, and ran my air lines through the side cover, so that way it's got more of a straight path of travel, and you don't end up with a chafing point, so the airline's not rubbing on the back of the side cover to rub a hole in it and create a leak. So that was took a little doing, but it wasn't too bad. Other than that, I recommend Scully Customs for air shocks. The guy was great, great communication, and answered any question that I had and gave me a deal on the shocks. So enjoy.